All right, now the people of Iowa are set to brave extreme cold to reach the caucuses on Monday. And the unique style of voting will kick off the 2024 presidential race in the United States. The Iowa caucuses will signal the direction in which the Republican Party is headed. Opinion polls suggest that former President Donald Trump is still in a commanding lead. In fact, a new poll shows that Trump is at 48% among likely caucus members, with Nikki Haley surging into the second place, but only with 20%. A comfortable win for Donald Trump will support his argument that he is the only Republican capable of replacing Democrat President Joe Biden. But the poll brought more bad news for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who scored just about 16%.
Do very well. Fact of the matter is, I'm the only one that could possibly compete with Donald Trump in a Republican primary. She cannot win conservative or core voters, Republicans. She's trying to win, people in the other party, which is fine in a general, but you got to be able to do that. So that the reality hasn't changed, but I think what has changed is we've put in the work, and now it's time to bring that to fruition.
After hundreds of events over the past year, the Republican candidates made their last bid ahead of the Iowa caucus. Even with their distinct campaign style, the Republican presidential candidates have largely focused on personal brands and also personal attacks.
But I will never run against him, ever. She said this for years. Then she calls a news conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I've decided to run for president. I said, that's not so surprising because I understand Nikki. She can't help herself. I understand her very well, better than anybody. By the way, she's not up to the job, okay? I can tell you that. I don't want to be mean. If I said that about a man, everyone would say, what a great statement.
The Republican primary also features many low-polling candidates, including entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy. He has promised a third-place finish in Iowa, but did not qualify for the final televised debate.
The only person to tell you that I will pardon on day one every peaceful January 6th protester, because that's the right thing to do for this country.
Now, more than 1,600 places are expected to hold caucuses this year. Voters will gather in small groups at churches, schools and community centers. Unlike other elections, the caucuses are being conducted by political parties and not the state government. According to the National Weather Service, in some parts of the state, the wind chill temperatures could reach minus 43 degrees Celsius. But some caucus members are still willing to weather it.
Well, we go to the local high school. In my case, it's up at Madrid, Iowa. And we'll caucus up there. And boy, it's going to be cold tonight because that's out in the open field. If there's any wind, it's supposed to be 18 below tonight, but I'm going.
And we expect that many people will turn out. Of course, we want people to be careful, but we think that turnout will be strong.
Now, for more on this, we are being joined by VOA correspondent Kane Farwa from Iowa, from the ground. Kane, welcome to the broadcast. How is the mood on the ground apart from being absolutely icy cold?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. The mood on the ground here is very chilly. I mean, you have to imagine, in order to be able to turn out to caucus or to get together in those group meetings to vote, you have to have a hardy constitution to be able to brave some of these weather conditions. And as you heard some of the people earlier there describe, some of these places are going to be out in the middle of fields where the wind is blowing. So it's actually going to be a lot colder than even some of those temperatures you mentioned because of the wind chill here. And so that's really the key. And that's also the big question. How much is this weather going to impact turnout? Turnout is key because these candidates who are vying for the presidential nomination, number one, but also for those candidates that are trailing Trump in the polling, they need their supporters to turn out at these caucus sites to support them in those meetings.
Absolutely, Kane. And increasingly, it seems like the question is not whether Trump is going to lead or win. It seems like it's now becoming, is there anyone else who can actually replace Trump anymore?
Well, right now, the latest polling here in Iowa shows that while Trump does have a commanding lead in those polls, the second place finish race seems to be between Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. That latest poll shows that Nikki Haley has edged Ron DeSantis by perhaps as much as 4 percentage points. But again, too, all of that determines on turnout today. And because of that weather, it's sort of an open question and anyone's guess at this point.
Right. You're there on the ground, Kane. If you could tell us, you're speaking about Nikki Haley, right? So Nikki Haley, she's actually trying to wire on those Trump critics, especially in the GOP camp. Do you think that could actually work out for her in Iowa?
Well, I think the polling shows that it's pretty much a very difficult and uphill battle to be able to win the Iowa caucus, at least as far as polling goes. And so I think that the candidates that are trailing Trump, who continues to have that commanding lead in these polls, the goal right now is to develop some momentum by finishing in second place. Remember, too, that the New Hampshire primary election is going to happen just a week after these Iowa caucuses. And so what those candidates, Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis in particular, are hoping for is some push, some kind of momentum that they perhaps might be able to help them do better in New Hampshire than they might have done in Iowa, and then obviously lead on to other races beyond New Hampshire.
Absolutely, you're right. Right after Iowa, the focus will shift to New Hampshire, of course. Thank you so much for joining us here on this broadcast, Kane, from Iowa, and getting us all those updates from the ground.
Thank you.